coherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought?
And welcome to the show. Today I'm your host, Doug Crow, the author of Brand Show. You're going to want to take notes. I often do myself. That's why we type them up and put them in the chat below here. Check it out later. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Our guest today, man, it's really cool stuff. He's guided a company called DevHub through venture-backed A Series, A1, and completed the acquisition of Brickwork Software, adding Nike, Chanel, David Yurman, among leading Fortune 1000 companies, powered through this guy's company, DevHub. They have OEM and VAR channels. He continues to lead this company as a CEO. Welcome to the show today, Mr. Mark Michael. Mark, how are you?
Thank you, Doug. I don't know if everyone says it, but that intro is how I feel on a daily basis. Like, I have no idea whether it hits or not, whatever I say, but I literally sometimes think, was that the Billy Madison moment, Or, yeah. So, yeah, thank you.
I always like looking at the green room, people's faces when I roll that, because, like, you make any sense. And sometimes people are like this. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they little face. I'm like, it's supposed to be fun, Come on.
Right. Like, look, if they're not smiling, they shouldn't be on this show.
Right. That's right.
Absolutely. I'm like, they have other issues. Like, if they're like take themselves that seriously, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I only had one, and unfortunately I did error. But anyway, listen, I want to give people a reason to stick around for a few minutes. And I know you got some great, big, broad-based things here. What's the one thing people can take away from our conversation today, you think?
I mean, hopefully there's a lot of little nuggets throughout the episode,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what we're kind of going through right now as we're scaling the company is, not listening to all money. That all money is basically not the same. And, basically taking your own path to building your own company. And again, like even this whole interview that you're listening to, if you're an entrepreneur or founder or high level executive, or even just, an employee in the company, like, again, everyone's path and comparing it against your friend's path, just, again, it's at a certain point, it just becomes noise. And so,
yeah, we had a book we worked on for a while with a guy about comparison, and he took the word comparison and said, compare -a sin. I'm like, yeah, it's a sin to compare yourself to others.
I got goosebumps. I mean, again, like, sometimes we're just too much in our own head, and so, again, like your intro. Great.
Yeah,
I've been smiling. You got an issue.
Really? I've been watching Succession lately. So when you talk about not all money you need, want, or care about, I think you understand that better than most. But why don't you explain to people who are looking into growing their company with some investors or different, venture or whatnot? Tell us what you mean by not all money is the same or created equal or should care about.
So again, for the record, I tell from the perspective and experience that I have, which is in software as a service. Again, it's a license model on the internet, a lot of startups, and then more specifically in the marketing space in that world. So again, everything digital. We don't have a physical product. It all exists in the cloud, yada, yada, yada. And so in our world, obviously, you have a lot of pressure from raising money, which we did, which we burned through. And then as you kind of come back or you just, go away, there's a tendency, doesn't matter on your age. I don't think it even matters in your experience, but we've seen, bigger companies than us raise the money, being told by the money coming in, here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then again, like that company all of a sudden was solid, had a really, good story. And then all of a sudden it just takes a left and it's like, they're a shell of themselves. The founder gets insecure because it's like, well, these people give me money. I feel obligated. And it just goes in the way that, it's like, wait, what happened? Like you were crushing it. Again, we had a company one time try to acquire, you want me to keep going, Doug?
Yeah, I want to hear about I love the we did a couple of M&A books. So this is a great topic. I love it.
I mean, again, so every year, 2+ companies try to acquire us. And I always say, like, look, we don't mind attaching our cart to someone else's horse. Yeah. But what that means is like they have to be doing something significantly better than what we think we can do, And so we've been around 16 years. You can go to devhub.com/history. I documented it all because, again, should there be something that happens with us, I don't want someone to be like, oh, they built a company overnight. Look, here's what 16 years looks like. You pay yourself $1,500 for 10 years a month, and then we can talk. But anyway, thank God for my wife. But so basically, yeah, I mean, early on when we were getting offers to be acquired, like this company had raised a bunch of money and they were like, look, we raised a bunch of money. We got excited because we knew they can pay up for us. And then all of a sudden, like, well, yeah, our board wants us to be a technology company. And it's like, well, what do you want to be? Well, I don't know. It's like, they say that, so we need to acquire you guys so we can have a platform. And it was like, even then we were kind of okay with it. But then they were like, let's add in this other company as part of the mix. I was like, that company has nothing to do with you guys. And so obviously, needless to say, things fell apart on that one. And a lot of the deals have kind of fallen apart sort of in that same vein where investors say, oh, this is not, DevHub would be, maybe it's not as strategic as the founder thinks it is. And so the founder doesn't move forward with the deal or whatever. And so again, it's just like, but what do you think?
Yeah.
You know? And so, but again, if you're chasing the money and you're chasing those metrics, again, that's a playbook. Like there's no, I mean, there's nothing to say that I think that's wrong. I mean, that's up to you. If you want to chase those metrics, you have to grow 40% quarter over quarter. You have to, then you better do that, but don't be shocked when it's like, well, what happened? It's like, well, they were only looking at the numbers. You never sold them a story. And I think some of the biggest companies of our time, from Apple to they said, like, this is what we're doing. Amazon, this is what we're doing. We're going to be unprofitable for a very long time. And, you're either on that ride because you believe it or you don't.
Yeah.
And so there's again, and so yeah, in that vein.
I love it. So do you have I mean, is it all intuition? Do you have some kind of set of principles or values when you say yes to or no to money?
First off, I guess what I always say is like, there's no decision to make until there's a decision to make.
Right on.
Right. So it's like people are like, oh, I would never be acquired for that, or I would never raise money at those terms. Put it in writing. Like, let me just digest the numbers or the whatever, I mean, that's like the one thing. So it's like, even today we're looking at a couple of companies to acquire, and they're like, well, we don't know. I'm like, well, you don't know anything because there's nothing to do right now. It's like, what, are you open to it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, just relax, and then I guess the layup answer is that I have like one of the most epic co-founders of all time, who's actually, I always say he lets me be CEO, and he's a lot more brainy than I am versus intuition. And so he's kind of that gut check for me to make sure I'm not crazy. But again, I will also say, and I think he will admit many times, he's like, that deal is too far for us to get, or that acquisition will be too hard to pull off. And it's like, well, I'm still just going to try, because again, nothing's happened. And so, and then it works out, and then I can say, I told you. But again, a relationship like that, it's like, he can handle it. And so it's fun.
I've had plenty of interviews with people who are, they moved into the exit world. And a couple of guys I talked to recently who were like, we're poised to, it was like the 9-figure, $150 million buyout. And something happened to a company a few weeks later. It's like, wait a minute, we are going too soon. We can actually, the way we are right now, we could take to $1 billion. And he just said those words, and his team said, okay. And they went from 1 million to 5 million, 1 million a month and 1 million a week in revenue. I'm like, well, I guess you're on your way. Then you can actually do this.
And again, flip side, I've seen a bunch of buddies, sell their company, go do the classic trip to Europe, come back, whether they came back 6 months or if they came back 3 years later, and then they're just kind of out of the game. Some are still come back into the game. Some are just, you've been out. And again, at least in tech, it's like, if you're out that long, I mean, look how fast it's moving now. And then also, what was it? I thought of something else when you said that too. Damn it. Yeah, all good.
Make a note. I have one more story question for you. So one of our clients works for a major bank, and he does all M&A work for them. He does consulting with them. He's a former tax attorney, really good with people, which, as you know, is a big part of it. And if they actually, do the exit and place some money with the bank, then his services are free. If not, then they charge him. But his book is called "The Descent is the Real Climb," because I think one of the things I'm seeing talking to people like yourselves is that, I know how to grow a company. I've been doing it for 16 years. I know what I'm doing. But as soon as exit time comes, like, wait a minute, I need a new skill set. I need, there's a lot of fumbles that happen in this world, and it looks like you've been able to avoid the fouls there. But any advice on someone when they're getting ready to sell and how they can better position themselves and not screw up?
It's, I don't know, all the cliche stuff. I mean, how I look at every potential, whether it's an exit or an acquisition for us to acquire, I always say it's people, obviously, first, and then flip, product, and revenue. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's people. Like, I mean, you can't fake chemistry. Like if you're just looking at the dollars and you want out, do you want to roll in a new co? I mean, like all of that is people. The number is obviously an aspect, but again, like it's like, do you get along? Do you not get along? Like you can fake getting along to get a deal, and then in terms of just like the process, like, yeah, of course you have a clean data room, you have all the numbers in there, it's all probably in a Google Drive or Dropbox or something, and you're super organized and not scrambling to put it all together because you have interest. You're kind of always keeping it up to date. And again, no one does, and it's fine,
If you're not going to exit, then it doesn't matter how your systems are, as long as they work for you, I guess. But if you're preparing to sell, you better make them clean and pretty.
Yeah, again, like I said, most likely you're getting acquired by a bigger company unless you're merging with someone that's like for like. But like again, do you believe that leadership is going to do something better than you could have done? And then that's where I kind of be like, at this point, I haven't seen it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah,
or the number is just so ridiculous. It's like, well, then it doesn't matter if they suck. I'm out. But I remember what I was going to say before.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a strong proponent in the founder-led company. I was listening to a little thing by the Butcher Box CEO, again, just like a little TikTok video, and he was like, so what if I sold it for $500 million or $1 billion? Like, what would I do next? And again, like I think it's like, at a certain point you have that hindsight or you have that experience. It's like you think about the money a lot. And it's sick. Again, my advice to everyone is get money. Like, I'm sorry, like that's my real advice. It's like, get money so you have options. I'm sorry, that's just the facts, unless you want to be an artist in the woods, which again, I would do that too.
With money, you can be a well-fed artist in the woods.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like if that's your lifestyle, that's what you care about. Like, cool. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
By the way, you don't have to start a company to make money. Like, you can work in corporate America, invest correctly. Buy real estate. My dad did that. He wasn't an entrepreneur. But he set us up. First generation. So, I mean, again, but number one is get money. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. In America, at least.
Yeah, no, it is. Okay. And it's like I said, as long as you are a good steward of it and have some kind of plan for it, don't just get the money for money's sake. Speaking of getting money, though, I know a lot of people interested in their early stage are interested in getting, angel venture, A-round stuff. So can you tell us a little about your journey when you first went to the market and said, okay, I need to get some money to grow this thing?
I think we were somewhat fortunate. So I'll do it in, I guess, quick 3 parts, right? Like the initial money, then the middle money, and then the later money. All happened within 2-3 years. So first money, $25K check. It was a neighbor in our building. We're like, hey, we think we have this idea. We made 10 cents today. We think we can grow this to something a lot bigger. 2% of the company for $25K. He was like, no problem. Da 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 da. And again, luckily, the lucky part was he was an investor in real estate and a bunch of other stuff. So it was not like a friend and family struggling to cut a check and then wondering what happened, right? So got that money. Second, again, if someone's invested in something similar to what it is you do, it's so easy to pitch that person. And again, like, I don't know why people make it more complicated than it is. Like, if I was looking to raise money right now, I'd look at, here's companies that invested in similar companies or competitors of ours. And I'd be like, look, here's our different take on it. And they're a lot more willing to answer that cold email. It's like, especially if they know they can recognize the industry or whatnot, versus just hitting up people for the sake of hitting up people. So again, getting money in that kind of second-ish round, more than $25K, at least a couple $100,000. You're just looking at people who have kind of done something in your industry before. And I'll say, like, if you have a really good story, I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on what their pitch is and all that other stuff. I hate watching Shark Tank. That's just not reality in any world. Like, you have to have revenue, you have to have all this. You can raise at least $1 million plus with just an idea, a logo, and a domain name. So, like, I never get caught up in that. You just have to have a really, 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 really good story, and then from there, again, you're getting money from investors who understand, like, it is an investment and they can lose everything. If you're with somebody that's like, you think an investor is going to move your company forward? I mean, I haven't seen it. So again, from my perspective, I don't think so. Again, I'm sure there's investors out there who want to be actively involved. I look at, of course, you can look up all the examples where investors were too involved, Uber, whatever, or they push it. I mean, I'm saying they just push it that way.
That's right.
Right. And so it's like, you have to know what you are trying to do, you're listening to the money. But again, one of our investors told me point blank to my eyeball right here. He basically said, what did he say? Oh, Mark, it's not going to be you. It's not going to be your idea that fails. It's going to be you that fails. And I was like, holy shit, we're in it for the long haul.
Wow. That's
like, he's like, our job. He was like, my job is the money. So if you expect me to do something more than give you money, like, that's not me. Again, I'm sure there's someone else out there that, disagrees, whatever, but I liked it. So I looked at it like, okay, they did their job.
Yeah.
Now I got to do mine,
That's really motivating, I'm sure.
And then another place to look for money. So again, neighbor, someone who's an investor, again, low money. I would still not ask friends and family just because you just don't want that drama in your life.
Friends and family.
Yeah. That middle is, again, someone angel-ish who's done something in your industry before, and then building on that. But then kind of a weird one that we took was, we looked at that time what the company was kind of in a little bit in a different space. And we just looked at who our biggest customer was, and we asked, like, hey, would you invest? And they were like, yeah, we love your product. And so that was like a kind of a layup. But again, like, I still think that it still plays today.
I would think so, especially if they're looking to place capital somewhere, right? If it's money that's sitting around their bank.
Well, they're using the product.
Yeah. They know your product. Okay, so you went from the little small check get started thing, and then was that venture money, or was it your middle path, or was it?
So our middle path was we were pitching VCs, and like the VC funds were not necessarily cutting the check, but someone at the table who has the reputation was cutting the check, which to me basically feels the same. I mean, I always say we have the best investors from Seattle, LA, New York, and San Francisco, and so whether that was the VC fund or the individual, like, almost maybe it's better that it was the individual.
It's money.
Yeah, maybe that's the lucky part,
Yeah, right.
So,
And then was that the Series A, or was that happen after that? You went.
Basically Series. Middle was Series A, and then we had kind of like this Series A1, which was that customer that came in.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll tell you and tell your audience, we burned it all in 6 months. Just under a little bit under $3 million. It was gone. 6 months. We hired 35 people we didn't know what to do with, or 40 people we didn't know what to do with. We were staying up all night trying to build product and launch. And everyone's like, oh, it's not that much. By the way, that translates whether you raise $100 million and you hire 700 employees. It's the same story.
Right.
And you'll hear the cliche things, product market fit, and that's not cliche. That's true. But it's just really hard when you're like, every dollar you spend, is not coming back. And it's like, I don't know, like, again, that's probably why people say you have to love it. Cause I don't know if I loved it at the time, but I love business, and then it's like, now I love it. I would say for 13 years, I probably hated it and resented it, but I was just so stupid and stubborn. I was like, we're going to figure out how to make it work. But anyway, burn the money, gone. Basically, obviously had to eliminate all positions. We had a third founder who also resigned, we'll stop that part there. And then still friendly with him now, many years later, obviously.
I get it.
My parents went and visited him just the other day. Anyway, and then again, we just had to like crawl our way back, right? So we had this idea. It didn't work out, and then what the hell happened? Idea didn't work out. So we were doing other things to keep the lights on that were unrelated to what the hell it was we were building, while still building the thing that we thought we were going to build. We started licensing the software. We ended up doing like projects for people based on the talent that we had, just between like 2-3 people. And until we had enough money to continue to license the software and the platform. And then, we got blessed. I mean, long story short, we got blessed by a pandemic. In the very early days, it was like, oh, this is how it ends, like whatever. And then we got blessed by it, where every location of every single brand realized it. Oh my God, we need a website. I mean, I always look at it like it's like the Bubba Gump, shrimp boat. There was that storm, and like all of a sudden, it wasn't like we just needed a website for our hours and our driving directions. It was like we needed to recruit, we needed to have our menu, we needed to do this, and like we need to optimize for a service area. We need to do a lot more. then just have the corporate site. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, we don't have the staff inside, aka the brands. We don't have the staff internally. Agencies were too much. And all of a sudden we were the only one that had a platform that can do it. And then, but again, I'll just say, like on a pricing side, again, I'm thinking about, a founder, entrepreneur. We were so underpriced for a very long time because, again, we came from a place of being broke.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And so, again, we corrected that after we bought that company, Brickwork. We saw what they charged retail brands. We saw the value in what we were delivering to the brands we're working with in terms of revenue. And again, it was just like we had to adjust with that. Otherwise, like you'd have to outsource everything. And so since we do everything here,
that's right.
It's a premium product. And so,
yeah, good advice. So, where you are right now, are you going to be looking for more capital, or are you just going to keep growing it organically? What's your plan?
Again, there's no decision to make until there's a decision to make. I mean, we have multiple conversations happening on multiple fronts right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to roll up a couple of companies that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
So, that option is kind of on the table right now. We're working through it.
Yeah.
So, again, all of it, all the time.
Yeah. It's good advice, actually. I love that. Yeah. You don't have, I tell my team that we're working on, we publish books and said, is this urgent? I'm like, we're not in an ER room. We're not, no one's getting a heart attack here. So if you have to decide, we'll decide. If you don't, then just wait till you have to.
And honestly, that's funny. That's what we tell our team is like, look, you really can't get in trouble. This is like internet marketing. Like as long as you're being a good person, like what, like this isn't,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No one's going to die. So, couple of personal questions for you on this. When you had your dip after that 3 million round, and you had to start doing something brand spanking new just to keep the lights on, did the people invested, are they out, or they still had to retain some of the equity, or what?
Again, that's the lucky / professional investor part where it's like they don't give a shit. It's like, literally, that's the truth. They invest in 20 plus companies a year, maybe more, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
Like 99% are going to fail.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, these guys are probably done. That was 2010. All of a sudden in 2020, when the pandemic hit, everyone was like, wait, you guys are still around? Wait, what's going on? And then they're like, oh my God, like what a great reputation, da 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 da. And so, now everyone's like pretty supportive, but again, like it's still like early days. Like it feels good now. Again, like I don't want to get too hyped, I don't know. We'll see. Again, everything is moving in the right direction.
Right.
As you probably tell with my tone, but
no, it's all good. It's all good. What advice, if you had to talk to your former self, or advice to someone who's doing a startup or going to raise money, what would you tell them?
Like lose the weight sooner, like your physical weight. This is totally selfish, me talking to myself. Like literally, I'm looking in the mirror. It's literally, Mark, like you thought once you get money, you'll do lipo, you'll whiten your teeth, you'll,
actual weight. I thought you meant company weight, not physical weight. Okay.
No. Yeah, no. Physical weight. You got to take care of yourself 100%. And it's like, I always thought like I had a pretty big belly. It kind of came back a little bit, but it's not there 100%. I always thought, I wear my wealth in my stomach, even though I had nothing. And, like just eating well, at least all the time. And like, I'll work out one day once we make it.
Yeah.
And then, we got hit with like a weird lawsuit at that time. And I was like, oh my God, they're about to take everything that we just started to do a little bit better, like 2016, 15 or 2016, 17. And so I just took my health seriously. And again, I was 35 then. So for the record, like it's not too late ever, I guess. I don't know, depending on when you're hearing it, what you think,
I think that could be a whole book for C-suite guys. I know that you can have all the money in the world, but if you I was on a cruise once, right? I went on a Forbes cruise. Steve Forbes is doing a thing there. And I go to the ballroom, and there's like a dozen walkers lined up outside the ballroom. Walkers. Man, so you make all this money, then you can't even walk. What's the point? It's just, it's if you can't take care of your health, then all the money in the world's not going to fix it. So
I guess second to that is, again, these are all cliche things. People, you've already heard it. Maybe I'm saying it in a way that you've not heard it before. It's like marriage is a merger, not an acquisition. So you better marry like the right person
Right.
Because otherwise it's like, I was never going to work for anybody my whole life. I never worked for anyone since I was 17. Again, of course, besides customers and shareholders and our employees, I get it. But I'm saying, like, me as a human, Mark Michael on planet Earth, alongside of you, was never going to work with anybody.
Right.
And so, like, my wife had to know that. And, I tease her now a little bit, that she can't control me anymore. But,
I actually married my partner, so she's my business partner. So we actually work really well together, which I know is rare, but man, it works really well for us.
we try it. We try it all the time, to work together. But it doesn't always work.
Not always. It's very rare. Mark, is awesome talking to you today, folks. DevHub. He's the CEO of DevHub, the leading integrator of online marketing for brick and mortar brands, not your mom and pop little flower shops, but real brands that need to get the digital age. He's the guy. Go to devhub.com, right? Is that the domain, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
Guess that. That was pretty
cool. If we didn't have that, I'd give up.
That's right.
That's the only thing we had for 10 years. I felt like,
hey, it's got value. You can sell it.
100%.
Great. Thanks for having me on the show today. I really appreciate it, Mark. Have a good one.
Yeah, no, thank you, Doug.
You bet.
It was great.
Yeah, thank you. Concludes the show for today. Check out DevHub. They're a really cool company. Sharp guy knows what he's talking about. If you're looking to grow your business, do an acquisition, merger, sale, he might be first to talk to, or you can obviously call our network. We've got plenty of people there as well. This is Doug Crow, the author of your brand, and have a great day.